Camilla Basset-Smith visits a remarkable garden in Devon, a place shaped not by soil and stone, but by the people who once found sanctuary within it. Here's Camilla with more.
Hidden among the rolling hills of the Devonshire countryside and on the cusp of Dartmoor National Park lies a secret. A garden which has seemingly been plucked from a faraway land, hidden from view and lost in time, has come alive again. Join me as I explore the Italian garden at Great Ambrook. Stephanie, it feels like I've walked into an ancient city, yet we're only a few miles from Torquay. This is an incredible spot.
It is. It is a magical place, completely walled and private.
So where did the story begin for this garden, then?
So the garden was created in the early 1900s by a very wealthy young man called Arthur Graham, and he wanted to create a private space where he could entertain his friends. He was actually gay at a time when it was illegal to be so, and just wanted a place where he could be himself and entertain.
So it really is a magical spot. Where are we now? What was this?
So this is at the top of the garden, and actually when guests arrived in the garden, they would have been driven up by carriage from Great Ambrook House through the carriage gates, and then they arrived through the top gate onto this amazing terrace by the summer house.
What did this look like right back at the start?
Well, the summer house had a roof. It actually had a very beautiful ogee roof made of slate, and that sadly collapsed. So we've cleared that, and part of the lottery funding enabled us to waterproof the structure because we'd like to use the inside as a visitor space.
And trying to be true to how it originally was, that secret garden kind of feeling. So is that a real balance for you in your restoration?
That's what we loved when we found the garden, was it was a lost secret garden, very magical. So we've always been very conscious that we want to restore it quite light-handedly. We want to keep that balance, which is hard because you have to clear to replant.
Yes.
But the idea is really to keep some areas that are wild, and when we clear, it's not going to be a manicured garden. We want it to have that wild, romantic feel still. And a really interesting design feature is this is actually a large water tank that we believe was used to feed the various pools around the garden. And if you want to come and have a look down below, I can show you how we think that worked.
I'd love to.
So you turn on this tap.
Right.
The water then flows over the trough.
Oh, I see a little bit trickling down there.
You see it coming down here.
It's really pretty, just with all the moss and
It's
everything.
lovely, isn't it,
Yeah.
with the moss now?
And where's that going to?
And as you follow it, it goes down here under the path. You see it come out through the grit and into the rills down here.
Which is beautiful. And actually, a lot of garden design today use rills, don't they? So it's very forward-thinking to have this.
I think very
way back then.
forward-thinking, and added yet another dimension to the garden with the sensory experience of the sound of water as you walked around the paths.
We're surrounded by a plethora of beautiful mature trees, aren't we?
Yes, the trees are a big design feature of the garden. A number of very interesting specimen trees around. The most iconic is the palm trees that you see lining avenues, marking entrances, used as a sort of design punctuation mark.
Stephanie, this is beautiful. Where are we?
We're in the dell, which is my favourite part of the garden, and designed to be the central feature of the garden.
Yes. And the beautiful planting with the blue forget-me-nots and the yellow of the primula, so pretty.
Yes, we just replanted it just over a year ago, and we've chosen a selection of rockery-type plants because that's the feel it has. So you see the iberis that grows across the top, and the thrift, and then geraniums, and really cascading-type plants like the campanulas that just look spectacular in the summer now already.
So this must have been an incredible find when you got here.
Actually, you couldn't tell it was here. It was completely buried in trees, mud, plants, debris.
So what made you think, OK, is there something underneath here? You had a hunch?
It was marked on a map. We knew that it existed, and we knew that this was originally a quarry that had been chosen to be the central feature of the garden. So we knew it was here.
So out came the spades, you shovels.
Yes, a lot of digging and excavating.
Yeah. How long did it take?
We must have spent 2 years, yeah. This area that we're standing on was completely inaccessible when we arrived, and you couldn't see this amazing wall, which our stonemason believes is one of the tallest dry stone walls in England, or certainly the tallest he's ever seen.
A huge undertaking for your team of volunteers, but I'm guessing this is not the only area that has required a lot of work.
A lot of work generally across the garden, but one area in particular is the pergola, which has gone through a major restoration. It's 111 foot long and was restored by 2 of our volunteers a few years ago.
Jerry, you're one of the team of volunteers responsible for bringing this beautiful structure back to life.
Yes, it was in a pretty derelict state when we started. It had been here for 100 years. The roof had started to fall in, even though the pillars were very sound.
And was it a long job?
It was. It took us about 6 months. Started down at the far end, down there, and we got some timber from a local supplier, gave it a try. But the main thing that we had to do was devise a way of being able to work at the height. So we created a platform with ratchet straps that we could move about easily. Took us about 3 days to do a section.
Yes.
By the time we got here, we were doing a section a day.
Yeah.
And we just
could have carried on for miles.
We could have done,
Could have done the whole of Devon.
Well, given the chance, we would. They've started to reintegrate the plant life around it.
Yeah.
In a few years' time, it's going to be magnificent.
Saying there's akebia behind you, the chocolate vine, which is in flower at the moment. What I love, and I've noticed this around the garden, everywhere's, it's very organic feel, but actually the training of all the plants is so neatly done. There's real attention to detail.
Yeah, I mean, these wires that are on it have been here for 100 years, and they're all around the garden, everywhere you look.
And that's one of the most fiddly jobs, annoying jobs.
Yes.
So that's already done for you.
Yeah.
It looks glorious. So, Jan, you're responsible for coordinating the whole team of volunteers, aren't you?
I am. We've probably got about 32 volunteers now.
That's quite a lot, actually.
It is quite a lot. We started off with 10 back in 2020. So I work closely with Steph in actually understanding where she wants the garden to actually go overall. And I think my added benefit is getting to understand what each volunteer actually wants to do as well.
Yes, like a huge puzzle, really.
It's a bit like a huge puzzle.
I think you're doing a good job.
Thank you. That's very kind of you.
Talking about doing a good job. So, Linda, you're busily potting up. We've got GMs, I think we've got here, haven't we?
Yes, we've got GM Total Tangerine, which are pot plants, which we bought, which we then pot on, ready to put out into the garden when they're ready. There's quite a good way to buy plants if you need quite a few, because it's much cheaper than buying the fully grown plants in the garden centre.
Yes. So your role is you're head of the nursery, is that right?
I started the nursery, yes. I started saving plants during the clearance back in 2019. When they were all being thrown on the bonfire, and I was taking them off and potting them.
You were like, don't burn that. There's life in that,
And as a result of that, Steph had this amazing nursery built for me, and we propagate plants from the garden that we then sell to raise money for the garden, or we plant back out into the garden.
It's raising money, but also making sure that you don't lose certain stocks of plants that you have.
Yes, that's right. I mean, some of the example, we've got some, we think of the original planting, some of the original camellias, and I've taken cuttings of them, which I've got growing on at home, which hopefully then, if we ever lose some of the original planting, we've got something that we can replicate it with.
Yeah.
Things like the Akeba cornata, the chocolate vine, which is an amazing plant, and we think that may have been part of the original planting.
Yes, and that's on the pergola now.
That's on the pergola. It's beautiful, and we propagate that, and that's our best-selling plant.
Really?
I think it's the name.
Yes, chocolate vine makes people interested in it.
Yeah, so that sells really well.
Well, I'm looking forward to coming back and seeing my little geums in the garden.
Yeah, we'll have to make a note so we know which one are yours.
Definitely. It's incredible to think that a garden created over 100 years ago could be forgotten, rediscovered, and then flourish once again as a place of connection. It just goes to show that if we put our hearts into making something grow, we can give it the power to endure long into the future.